Hi everyone. I absolutely love this photo and I had to edit it. So cute. It's a really great picture to learn some editing on. So I'm glad you guys are here and you wanted to see how I did it. Love seeing everyone else's edits too. Okay, I'm gonna try not to make this too long, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm gonna start in Lightroom here. And I'm gonna, first of all, add a preset. I'm using, this is the small set. You can buy these on soulmatepresets.com. I love the small set. Small one is amazing. So here I'm gonna start just a small one. I have a couple versions in here. So I'm gonna do the latest one right here. I believe that's the latest one. Okay, so obviously this made it super dark. You're just gonna have to go in and tweak it. I'm gonna start with grain because it's the first thing I noticed, that the grain is really heavy and I personally don't like a lot of grain. So I'm gonna bring that down to about 3 and then start in with the light panel. So here we go with exposure. I'm not gonna bring the exposure up a whole lot. Like obviously, you know, their faces look better when it's this high, but I'm not gonna bring it there because I don't want to light up the whole scene. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of light there, bring up the shadows just a little bit, and the whites just a little bit. Then I'm gonna go in with color and here with white balance and add a good bit of yellow. I'm gonna go up to about 16. And sorry, my fan is probably gonna kick on my laptop. That might be a little distracting, so sorry about that. Okay, so that looks pretty good here. I'm actually gonna go into this color panel here, and I'm gonna bring up the luminance in their skin. So it looks very heavily orange to me with this preset right here. Maybe just take the saturation down even a little bit more. And yellow, I'm gonna kind of mess around with that too. Maybe, let's see, take some of that saturation out as well. Just kind of play with it and see what you get. Okay. All right, so next what I'm gonna do is, I'm actually gonna bring this down a little bit more even. I like it like that. Okay. I'm gonna go in with a radial filter and I'm gonna work on lighting up the couple right here. So I'm gonna add some exposure. I'm gonna add the center. It's gonna be the strongest, obviously, at the center. And he's the darkest with the hat. Gives a lot of shadow on his face, and you wanna see that cute smile. So I'm gonna bring that up there. I'm also gonna bring up the shadows in this radial filter. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit more. I want it to be perfect. Okay, I like it like this. I think that looks really nice, natural, and I'm gonna go in and do another radial filter here with the dog and the legs, because I want the lighting to be different. Down here, not so bright. Okay, I'm gonna bring up the blacks, just a little whites, and the shadows. Just kind of play around with that. I want it. Okay. Wherever it looks, there we go. So there's the before and after there. That looks really nice already. I'm gonna go ahead and let's do an auto straighten and see what it does. Sometimes I don't like the auto straighten, but this actually looks pretty good. I'm gonna line it up to this side, the left side of the horizon, because I think that looks actually more straight. Okay, great, cute. I think this looks pretty good here. I'm just gonna see what a little bit of luminance in the reds does. Okay, I'm just gonna add a little bit of that in there too. So, yeah, and I actually think I can bring this down a little bit more. Okay. All right, so I think that looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and edit it in Photoshop now. All right, I'm gonna try to match it to this one. Okay, add a new layer. First of all, I'm going to just clone out a couple things. The sky replacement would probably take care of this, but I'm psycho, so I'm going to take that out. I'm going to take off this logo just because I think it's distracting. That's just my personal preference. Okay, I'm going to take that out. I think that looks good. Okay, I'm going to go and do the sky replacement. All right. Sky replacement, just a couple things that I've learned. Some of these preloaded ones from Adobe are good, are fine. But some of them are overused, and you can start to tell that the sky has been replaced just if you recognize them. Like there's one I see all the time. It might be this one. I see this all the time, and everybody uses it. Just take your camera and you see a nice sunset. You can take your own and edit them the way you like, to your style, and then it's so easy. Just load them here and create a new sky, and you can load in as many skies as you want, and you can use your own, which I highly recommend doing. So this is one of my favorite skies here. Obviously this looks terrible because you can see the horizon from the other picture, but this is the one I'm going to choose. So it does a pretty good job with the automatic panels here. It doesn't look like it actually did much of anything. The fade edge, and let's see if we can. So the fade edge is where it blends. So you can just play around with it and kind of figure out what it does. I'm going to fade mine a lot. I like the fade to be about at 100. The shift edge, the same. It's kind of like where it starts and where it ends. You can tell there. I'm not sure exactly, but the way it loads in for me is this looks great. The temperature is in the middle. Like I'm just gonna adjust it on my own after I say okay. All right, so what I'm going to do to get rid of this horizon, click the sky, the photo layer of the new sky, and do Command Transform. Sorry, I'm trying to rush this so it's not a 20-minute long video. And I'm going to drag it down, so it's just, you can resize it, you can move it around. So this is like, you can get a bunch of different skies from one photo. So like this sky is completely different from this sky, the same photo. It's really up to you. You can use the same sky for a whole session and just move it around and transform it, and it flows. So it's really, really a cool tool, and love it so much. Okay, so this is kind of how I had it before. All right. I think this I love these like wispy lit clouds here. So I'm going to use it like that. I think that looks really good. I love the contrast of one side being light and the other side being a little dark. I think that looks really good. I kind of want a little bit more light, so I'm going to make that bigger. There we go. Yeah, I love that. It looks so good. So the next layer is the foreground lighting. And you can tell it does this automatically, and it usually does a pretty good job. In this, I don't really think it's doing much, so I'm just gonna turn this layer off. I don't like what it's doing, so I'll just turn it off. And then the foreground color, it tries to match the colors from your new sky to the colors in your picture. So I think it's a heavy yellow, so I'm going to go ahead and decrease it. It's already, opacity is already at 35, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it down even more because I don't necessarily like it. I think it does help match the grass in the sky, but I don't think it needs to be that heavy. And then I'm going to click that layer, and I'm actually going to brush that off. Brush that off the couple's faces and skin because I just don't like how orange it's making them look, and the dog here a little. There we go. So I think that looks, there's the sky replacement. It's a little still heavy for me. I think you can really mess up a photo with this tool if you're not using it right, if you're heavy-handed. So I'm going to bring the opacity down to about there, 85%. And I like the way that looks a lot. It adds so much more depth and color. Really nice. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flatten this image, flatten all the layers discard the hidden layer. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to go in with the curves because it is still dark for me. Okay, I'm going to bring the curves up here. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to invert that and then brush on the light on their faces and where I want the light to be. So, just kind of the sun would be coming from this side, so I'm going to bring it up even more so you can see the difference there. Nice, natural. Okay. All right, I really like the way that looks. And then one of the last things I did, I did 2 more steps. I added a Gaussian blur. So to do that, just go into blur, Gaussian blur. I want to blur out that sky a little bit and some of this background. This is kind of the same effect. This and the high pass trick, it's kind of the same for like portraiture sort of effect is what I'm going through. Actually, I'm going to flatten this before I do that again. Okay, Gaussian blur. I'm going to add a layer mask and invert that, and then I'm going to brush on that blur effect. It's too high for me. Obviously, another thing you don't want to be too heavy-handed on. Very subtle changes make a huge effect. So, okay. Now I'm going to add some of that blur to the grass. Here, I just think that gives it like this dreamy sort of, yeah, like, oh, it's so pretty. Just soft, dreamy effect. I'm going to bring it all the way into here. And it kind of makes you focus in on the couple a little bit more too. So there's the before and after of that. Let me just do a little bit more here. Okay, I'm going to do it a little heavy, and then I'm going to decrease the overall. And then I'll take that down. Yeah, I really like the way that looks. And the last thing I'm going to do is go in here and just dodge these people up. Actually, flatten again. I know I flatten a lot. It's just how I prefer to edit. Okay. Just going to brighten it up just a little bit here. This video is getting very long. It did not take me this long to edit the first time, but that's okay. I'm going to change to highlights, and I'm going to hit this truck right here. Just brighten it up, her hair and the hat right here a little bit. I think it looks like, no, it's too much. Okay, that's pretty much what I did.